There's a film photography renaissance going on, supposedly, but new recruits find out almost instantly that you can't share your analog artistry on Instagram. That means unless you're willing to stick to the occasional gallery show or self-published book, the only way you can get your work seen is to turn your analog images into digital ones. Of course, the internet has responded to this situation with its usual mix of information, misinformation, outright lies, and confusion, and I had just about had it. I'd tried most of the alleged solutions for digitizing my film images, and I wasn't satisfied. Scans from a top professional lab are great, and I've really liked the results I've gotten, but they're too expensive for anything except special occasion shoots. For everyday use, and for me that's mostly black and white 35mm film negatives, I was running out of options. Cheap SD card digitizers? Awful. Flatbed film scanners? Bulky and hard to keep all that glass clean. Mirrorless camera plus macro lens plus light box? Okay, but not great quality, fiddly setup, time-consuming and tedious to use, and buying all of that stuff isn't cheap either. Frankly, I was about to give up on 35mm film photography entirely until, as a last resort effort, I bit the bullet and bought a desktop film scanner. Now, I had owned a film scanner back in the early 2000s when several major camera manufacturers made them. Mine was a Canon, a CanoScan FS4000. It was built like a tank, and it was just as slow as a tank and almost as noisy. Scanning a full roll of negatives could take hours, and the software wasn't very reliable. Eventually I gave up and sold it, but I felt a pang of regret every time I'd look at those old files and see how good they were. So now I've bought a new current technology film scanner, this time a low-end model called the PlusTech 135i. I picked this model simply because it was the cheapest scanner I could find that works with the current Mac OS and pulls the film strip through automatically. It scans the negs and sends the files to Adobe Lightroom Classic. From there, I convert them to positives using a plugin called Negative Lab Pro, and I'm done. I have a set of files in Lightroom ready to use like any other images. And guess what? It's working. I'm a fairly grumpy guy, but so far I'm pretty happy with this solution. Now let's look at the process in a little more detail. The PlusTech 135i scanner, which costs about $400, and again, which I bought with my own money, is an unobtrusive slab-sided box that you could conceivably leave out on a shelf without looking too nerdy. The software controls are clunky, but fortunately you don't need to look at them very much. I always scan in positive mode, so the only things I need to do here are pick a destination for my files, then choose a resolution, anything from 600 to 7200 pixels per inch, and decide whether to turn automatic dust removal on or off. Now the 135i is no speed racer, but it's usably quick compared to the scanners from the early 2000s. It'll do a strip of 6 frames at 2400 pixels per inch, a reasonable setting for online and prints, in about 3 minutes 20 seconds. Admittedly, my mirrorless camera digitizing setup does the same thing even faster, about 2 minutes flat, but I have to stand there twiddling things for every second of those 2 minutes. The 135i babysits itself, so while it's scanning a strip of film, I can sit and watch YouTube videos or eat a snack or, more productively, work on editing other images. Scan time depends on resolution. If you just want a visual index of your latest negatives, you can scan them at 600 pixels per inch and have a whole 36 exposure roll ready to go in Lightroom in about 5 minutes. Scanning a roll at Instagram or Flickr quality will take about 10 to 12 minutes per roll. For print quality files, you'll want to use 2400 or 3600 ppi, and that will take about 20 minutes per roll. The 7200 ppi setting is a lot slower, and I'm not sure it's any better. When I compare 7200 ppi scans to ones I made at 3600 or even 2400 ppi, I'm not sure I see any significant improvement. The grain edges may be a little more distinct, but I don't see any more detail in the image itself. My take is that specialized ultra-fine grain films might be worth scanning at 7200, But for mainstream films, the extra resolution doesn't justify the extra scan time and disk space. I think 2400 or 3600 ppi will be fine for almost everything I'm scanning. The real elephant in the room is that if you're looking for detailed, realistic digital images of subjects you care about, any modern digital camera will give you higher quality results than any film camera, no matter what scanning process you use. As far as I'm concerned, shooting film is strictly for fun, and my three-step process delivers that fun with less frustration and less tedium than anything I've tried before. So this is going to be my go-to for 35mm unless something better comes along. And if that does happen, I'm sure I can count on the internet to let me know all about it.